Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us His truth. And salutations to sincere Akim and Aqua they may listen. May the blessing of election be over your house. My name is Brother Kwai. I'm back in here with another lesson. And for today's lesson, what I want to do is I want to react to a video that the Apostle Gabar made a couple of days ago, and I thought it was very, very interesting, and I just wanted to add to the point, and solidify the point that Apostle Gabar was making, and just add in some history just to back up the point, right? So the first script I just want to grab real quickly before I proceed is let's get Sirach. Okay, this is Sirach 21 verse 15, and it reads, if a skillful man hear a wise word, he will commend it and add unto it. But as soon as one of no understanding heareth it, it displeaseth him, and cast it behind his back, right? So, only a skillful man, when they hear this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, they will go and seek and try to understand and try and add to, what the person is actually saying, right? Because I thought it was a very interesting point, and and that is something that is not often talked about, especially in this world, right? Because people strictly see things as they strictly look at face value, a person's skin color, right, without knowing and understanding history, right? So what I want to do is bring up a couple of historical accounts, and how we're Ratazah, this would be an edifying lesson, right? So this is something just to keep in mind when you are approached by somebody at the camp who doesn't look like your typical Israelite, but most cases, in this case, we're speaking about so-called white people, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to read a page from a book I have called The Negro Question, Part 4, The Missing Link. And it goes deep into the history of the Black Scots, the Black Irish, the Black English, during the time and even before the time of King James, who authorized the putting together of the Bible that would be widely available to the what we use today, right? And so this is going to be chapter 3. So here's some key things just to look up as well, so you can also further do your own research on this, or you can even invest in the book. I highly recommend it. It's lots of information in here, right? So anyways, to start off, this is chapter 3. And it's titled Oliver Cromwell, and that's something you can type into Google. And it reads, history records that after the execution of Charles I of Scotland and England, by the way, the Charles I was the son of King James, right? And he was nicknamed the Black Boy, right? So this is during the early 1600s, that Oliver Cromwell invaded Scotland, killed 4,000 men, and took 10,000 captive. For some explicable reason, it took Cromwell over a year to end the war in Scotland. These black Europeans were sent to Barbados, Boston, Charlestown, Cambridge, Concord, Hingham, Ipswich, Virginia, Newark, and the southern plantations. These are facts, ladies and gentlemen. These Scottish blacks were among us in the Americas, and we are not ignorant of their existence as well as they are. It has been reported that in the so-called African American community, a lot of blacks have Scottish and Irish last names. right? So this is something that is not often talked about, especially in these public, these so-called public school systems, And as a matter of fact, let me bring out a quick precept before I continue. This is First Corinthians chapter 2, verse 10, and it reads, "But the Most High have revealed them unto us by his Spirit, and for the Spirit searcheth all things, yea, the deep things of the Most High. For what man knoweth the things of a man, save the spirit of man which is in him? Even so, the things of the Most High Yahweh knoweth no man but the Spirit of the Most High Yahweh. Now we have received not the spirit of the world, but the Spirit which is of the Most High Yahweh, that we may know the things that are freely given to us of the Most High Yahweh." Right? So, this is one thing that is not often talked about, because and when you read early up in the chapter, it refers to man's wisdom, and what man's wisdom, especially here in the West and places like Canada and America, it strongly emphasizes the focus of how somebody looks, right? The face value and this strong emphasis on skin color and as somebody's nationality, right? But when you actually look at things spiritually and understand history as well, you would know that pursuant to the curses that our people were scattered all over the globe, right? And understanding that within a couple of generations, our people, I want to use like Europe for example, or the so-called black men in that time, they were sleeping with the white women, and eventually what's going to happen? You're going to have some children that don't look like the so-called black people anymore. They don't look like your typical your Denzel Washington type or your Angela Bassett. They don't look like these people anymore. But what they will look like, they might look more like the main character from Home Alone, right? But their seed, that still goes back to the father. That still goes back to that Israelite, so-called black man, right? And this is what I wanted to bring out. But our people, especially in man's wisdom doesn't open, doesn't open your eyes to this sort of reality, right? Doesn't open your eyes to this confusion of faces, right? Verse 13, and it reads, "Which are things also we speak not in the words of man's wisdom teacheth, but the Holy Spirit teacheth, comparing spiritual things with spiritual," right? So this is something that you have to be very spiritual about, right? Just a quick testimony, actually. I had a young man. He wasn't that young, actually. He's more on the older side. He's in his 60s. And I remember one time I was at work and we were having lunch, and he looks like a straight up, so-called white person. But he actually told me to my face one time, and he said, I don't get along with a lot of so-called white people. And he said that to me. And he told me about his forefathers and how they escaped from Portugal, either Spain or Portugal, during the time of the Inquisition. And if you look at the history, a lot of our people were there and present during that time, but they were persecuted. The church, the Catholic Church, had a lot of power, and they were persecuting a lot of our people, and they were trying to force them to convert to Christianity, right? So, so this is something you have to be very, very spiritual about when you encounter people like that, and have an understanding of history as well, right? Because you will not have all Israelites, who come up to the camp, or anybody who comes at the camp, they will not always look like your typical Denzel Washington or Angela Bassett type of Israelite look, right? Okay, so what I want to do is just read another passage here. And it reads, When the Scottish blacks were driven out of Scotland, the English, the white English, moved into the empty land and confiscated their property and took their identity, right? Lower down, it says, let's see, once the Indians were driven out of the land of the whites, confiscated the land and took their names, the English began to call themselves Americans. And so do you think about it? When Oliver Cromwell enslaved and deported the Irish, Scots, and Brits and out of the land, he gave the land his soldiers under the Land Confiscation Act, right? So when he drove out the black Scots, the black Irish, and the black Brits, they took on their identity, right? There's another page I also wanted to get real quickly. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay, I want to read this next page here. Okay, so this is page 26, and it reads, Oliver Cromwell was Lord Protector of the Commonwealth of England, Ireland, Scotland after the assassination of the Scottish English King, King Charles I. So keep in mind, King Charles was the son of King James, right? The one who orchestrated the Bible that we normally use. Upon taking military command of the Commonwealth, he invaded Ireland, and the history states he committed genocide in Ireland against the black population. The black Irish that he didn't kill were sold into the slave trade. In 1641, Cromwell had 300,000 black Irish sold into the North Atlantic slave trade. And in 1650, he had 100,000 Irish, Scottish children sold into Barbados, right? So this cuts this whole idea that most of us, especially in this part of the Southern Kingdom, came from Africa. A lot of us in the islands came from Europe. There's an edict that I want to... Oh, just another quick point I want to read as well. Then I want to get a precept. Oh, hang on. Let me just get the precept first. Okay, this is Job 13, verse 4, and it reads, For ye are forgers of lies, and ye are physicians of no value. Right? So this was a complete lie that is often taught to us, especially in the public schools. So this is, continue on page 26. So this is the Oliver Cromwell edict. So everything I am mentioning, I encourage you brothers and you sisters to look into this. And it reads, and this is a quote from Oliver Cromwell, and it reads, Those who fail to transplant themselves to Connaught or Clare within 6 months shall be found guilty of high treason. You will then be sent into America or some other part beyond the sea. The Royal African Company sent 249 ships to the West Indies, sending 60,000 African and Irish into the Americas and West Indies. Make no mistake about these people here in the colony are with us. So let's see if there's anything else I can share quickly. Oh, this is juicy. Oh, okay. Hold on. I gotta read this. The black Irish that came into Jamaica had two places of origin, either Ireland or Barbados. Close to 300,000 black Irish came directly from Ireland, and the rest came from Barbados. 70% of all black slaves on the island of Barbados came from Ireland, right? And in the 1925 census of Jamaica, there are 916,000 people on the island, and 2% were white, right? So this cuts this whole idea that, a lot of, the majority of the so-called blacks only came from the west coast of Africa. There were a lot of people present who came from, Europe, right? Because we were ruling during that so-called Dark Ages period, right? So let's get a couple more precepts and we can close the lesson. I think it's 10 and 3. Okay, this is 2 Corinthians 10 verse 3. And it reads, "For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the Most High Yahweh into the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of the Most High, and bring it into captivity, every thought to the obedience of Yahushai HaMashiach," right? So this is a stronghold that is continuously plaguing the minds of our people because they're constantly, not to neglect the events of slavery that have occurred where some of our people actually came from, the western, they fled to the western coast of Africa, but and giving you a light and understanding and shedding just shedding some light on something that a piece of history that is not often talked about, because Europe has a bit of an upper echelon sort of essence, and the reason it looks like that is, one, because of the Moors and because of our presence, the fact that we were also there and we were ruling in those lands, right? So all this is this idea that all of us came from Africa is a stronghold, and that has to be brought down, and that is the point that I'm trying to bring out, to the lesson and adding on to the apostles' lesson, right? So, let's get Romans. Okay, so this is Romans 12, verse 2, and it reads, "And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High Yahweh." Right? So this transformation that we put here is also understanding this knowledge and understanding that, it is not limited to the way that man's wisdom teaches, and understanding that, when we do encounter these situations, we have to be very, very spiritual, right? And have an understanding of the history, and know that, when you see strictly, face value, if someone doesn't look like your typical Israelite, you have to look at it spiritually. How do they move, they're speaking, and, like the apostle was saying, asking the right questions. That's always very, very important. That's very, very important, Salakia. So anyways, I kind of hit the point. I didn't want to make this lesson too long, but it's just I just wanted to embellish on the meal that, the Apostle Gabar was making. But anyways, hopefully this video was edifying, and I'd just like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth. Until next time, I say Shalom.